Questioning Everything with Adam W.
Isn't like the second rule of thermodynamics means that everything eventually is going to get cold and die, and it's not going to be able to make any mechanical, production. But it doesn't appear to be. It appears that the entropy is neutral, it's counterbalanced, and that's how everything can be things that we observe and that we exist, or something shit like that.
I didn't understand it to that degree, but I mean, as I understand it, entropy is going to win.
Yeah.
We'll give it enough time, right?
Man. But some people, I think, want to argue that there might not be a big peter out because the entropy somehow is balanced. For everywhere that it goes high, it goes low somewhere else, and then there's just a constant flux of whenever the entropy gets too high somewhere else, it gets really low somewhere else, and it just
I see. So that the entire universe itself wouldn't suffer from entropy, but perhaps like limbs of the universe would.
Yeah.
Maybe a limb would die out while another portion is actually in a different state of entropy.
Yeah, actually, maybe eventually it's just been holding on, but eventually, like any other perpetual motion machine, it'll eventually just won't keep going.
That's the interesting part is we always see things linearly, right? I tend to see things as a simultaneous, right? So it's like, do things reincarnate? No. We actually exist, at least in my perception, as a simultaneous incarnation system where there is no, like, there's no, multiple. It's like literally now is the time. Yeah. Really, it is now. And everything that exists now kind of like splits the share of what it is. And however you're configured or equalized is who you are going to be. Much in the same of, like, say, the Big Bang or entropy. I don't believe in the Big Bang, but let's say if I was right, I think that it's going to be more like precipitation of materials from quantum stuff in a vector that's been produced by two-dimensional structures like quantum stuff, quarks and gluons and shit like that. Yeah. But that, like a mechanical pencil, every time a bit's pushed out the end, there's something else getting pushed in, right? So I would imagine that there's a hot center of some kind, and that hot center is nothing, essentially. It's non-material, immaterial, and it's producing materiality, and it's pushing it out, and it's firing it out, and as it fires out, it just keeps pushing it further out. So, that would be like the things on the edge are starting to decompose. They're decomposing because of entropy. There's literally, and you could call it entropy, or you could just say that there's no more energy going into the
system
excitation. Exactly. Yeah. So everything's getting so far apart as well that it just peters out. What could be an electron in a compressed universe, once you stretch it 80,000 times, it's just a bunch of quantum stuff again. So at that point, the edge of that universe and the beginning of that universe would be touching, kind of thing. And that once that stuff got so entropic that it just turned back into quantum stuff, now it's part of the torus, now it's part of the donut, and it's fuel for the stuff in the middle to start producing more nuclei, right? And then it forms a fucking neutron, which then gets fucking decayed into a proton, an electron, and a neutrino, and it just continues. They start sticking together, they start reacting, they start doing their thing. Get into like the 3/4 mark, here we are with like cold rock and liquid water and hydrogen's a gas, Methane's a gas. Hydrocarbons themselves, light hydrocarbons are all gases, but water's a liquid. We're at the 75% mark or something.
Yeah.
Right? Where it's cold enough to do the shit, but not yet subject to entropy fucking things up. Is there a point in the universe where it's already so subject to entropy that everything's just been annihilated? I don't know. Would we know? I don't know. We've got a Patreon because we have to commercialize this podcast somehow. We've got to eat more than ramen one day. And if you love the content and you want to support the podcast, then why don't you join us on Patreon? And the link is in the description.